Hey, Holly, give her an invitation, will you please?
Oh, from South Tyler? Yes.
All right. Tell her, make sure you tell her about our free but intense pacing process.
You got it.
Yes.
And I may have to email it to you, Derek. I think I may be down to one, but let me, I'll look.
It's not a rush. I just decided I needed to do
That makes me feel much better. Just me and Father. I can start a little bit early.
Yeah, right. No, but seriously, I think she does something now.
We don't have that problem. Everybody around
Yeah, let's go ahead and get the party started, all right? Hello, everyone. Welcome again to our Thursday after meeting. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to our Thursday afternoon meeting of which Rotary Club? What? I can't hear you. There you go. Is everybody happy? Yeah, okay. Well, if you're not, just deal with it, all right? Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Go ahead and put your cell phones on vibrate instead of ring. And let me see here. National Anthem, Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead and stand, please. And I'm going to ask Sandy Wells to come up and lead us in that. Okay.
I'm coming. Hey, sweetie, how are you?
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Here you go.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
So this is the first time that I'm doing this here, but I will want to tell you just real quick before I do it. When I first came to my first Rotary meeting here, and Pam, I don't know if Pam Walters is here, I wrote back to all my colleagues back in Washington, D.C., and I said, because I have been a retired Fed, I said, you won't believe it. There's actually a group of people that still says the Pledge of Allegiance and sings the national anthem.
That's right. That's right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you
see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous night over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the most bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing does that star-spangled banner
Thank you, Sandy.
How much more do we appreciate sneaking out now?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, by the way, Vicki, before you sneak out, I want to thank you for coming in to play for us.
That's right.
All right, and now invocations and introductions. Please welcome Larry Wickham,
Woo, Larry.
sitting all the way in the back of the room.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, Larry. Good to see you again.
Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful that we could come to this large gathering of friends today to be a part of this Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Tyler. We thank you for every person who's here, for their dedication to service, for the opportunities that you give us to share our talents and gifts and resources with others around us who have great needs. And then as we work together to do that, Father, we know we make a greater impact on our community and around the world. So we thank you for all of that. We thank you for the food that we've enjoyed today and for those that have prepared it. We pray you bless it to nourish and strengthen us. Be with our program today and with all that's said and done here, that it might bring honor and glory to you. And I ask my prayer today in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. It is a joy to see you here today at the Tyler Rotary Club. As Bill says, I can't just say the Tyler Rotary Club anymore. I have to say the Rotary Club. And we are, something happened here. Testing. I think my battery just went dead. While that's getting fixed, I will just say welcome to all of you and turn the volume up a little bit. I don't think it's going to work without. I don't think it's going to work. Anyway, we have some, I'm sure, a number of guests with us. I've met a few already today. And so I want to ask first, are there any visiting Rotarians here today? I'm sure we have some of those. If you're a visiting Rotarian, would you stand and introduce yourself to us, please? Visiting Rotarians.
My name is Amanda Palmer, and I'm visiting from the South Tyler Rotary.
All right. Thank you, Amanda, for being with us. Anyone else? No one else? No one else? Okay, good.
No, we got one right here.
Another visiting Rotarian?
Later on.
All right, we'll hold off on that. How about guests? Do we have any guests?
I have one guest here today. He's a neighbor at home. He's a neighbor in my business complex. This is Curtis Scudder. He's an all-state agent here in town. He has two gorgeous little girls that I'm going to adopt as grandkids, and my kids don't put out some. That's what I call Dr. Laura's husband. So.
There you go.
Not the TV, I mean the radio guy.
Well, all right, thank you, Curtis. Good to have you with us today.
My guest is Pam Frederick. Pam is running county commissioner of 361, which is where I reside. So I asked her to come be my guest today.
Nice to have you.
All right, thank you, Pam, for being here with us. How about over here at this table? Yes?
This is my guest, Taylor Burkett, and she's gonna tell herself, contact herself.
I am the general manager at Greenway Gutter Pros here in Tyler. I'm born and raised here. I spend my time volunteering as a basketball coach for boys. And I just want to get more involved in the community. So,
Great, thank you. You found a good place to do it, right here. How about here at this table?
I am totally privileged today to have my guest, our VP of Sales and Marketing, Rob Oakwood.
Welcome and thank you for being here.
So I'm here with Sir Pro out of our Houston office, and we're happy to be part of the Tyler organization as well. So.
All right, thank you. Good.
Dylan Myrick, I brought today my lovely wife, Ashley.
All right, thank you. Good to have you with us. All right, I think the rest of us, other than our speaker and his guests, are home folks. So we'll just say again, we're glad you're here. Hope you'll come back next week. If you're a guest, it's a great club to be a part of, and we hope you'll seek out someone to help you get membership papers and get signed up to be a member.
Got somebody I want to introduce.
All right, here you go, Bill.
Ryan too. Stand up. She's visited our club before. She kind of familiar with us. She called me this morning, says, hey, I want to come back and visit. And she's leaving today with either an application to fill out later on, or maybe have it filled out before she leaves.
Great, Ryan. Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Our newest new member.
That's right. Okay, thank you, Larry. And let's see here. Up next, I want to thank our greeters for the day. Well, Pam's not here, but Trudy Williams and Leland Ferguson. Where are you guys? Y'all stand up. Yeah, thanks very much. And now for this week in history, please welcome our own Paul Glasser.
Thank you, Bill. Today, the 27th of January, 1967, during a countdown rehearsal for the first manned Apollo spacecraft launch, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee died when a fire broke out inside the closed spacecraft, charged with 15 pounds per square inch of pure oxygen, sitting atop its Saturn launch vehicle on pad 34 at Cape Canaveral. It marked the first deaths of U.S. astronauts inside a space vehicle, and it severely threatened the Apollo program goal of putting men on the moon by the end of the decade. On the 28th of January, 21 years and 1 day later, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded 73 seconds after liftoff from pad 39A at Cape Canaveral. All 7 crew members, including New Hampshire school teacher Krista McAuliffe, died. The Space Shuttle program was grounded for nearly 3 years, and the accident touched off a deep crisis within NASA. On the 29th of January, 1936, a little more than a year after having advanced the false story that Civil War hero Abner Doubleday invented the game of baseball at Cooperstown, New York, none of that happened. The City Fathers inducted Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Christy Mathewson, and Walter Johnson into the brand new Baseball Hall of Fame that they had established there at Cooperstown as a tourist attraction to aid the fortunes of that depression-racked city. It was a promotion. On the 30th of January, 1968, North Vietnamese forces began an all-out assault on South Vietnam, concurrent with the Vietnamese New Year celebration called Tet. 80,000 troops attacked cities, towns, and military posts in South Vietnam. They breached the wall of the American embassy in Saigon, but did not succeed in taking it over. The first wave of the offensive continued until late March. The U.S. lost approximately 3,000. Communist forces lost 40,000. It was a success for the U.S. military, but it resulted in a precipitous drop in support for the war by American citizens. On the 31st of January, 1945, sticking with the military, Army Private Eddie Slovik was shot to death by an Army firing squad, having been convicted at court-martial of desertion. His last appeal for clemency went to Supreme Commander Dwight Eisenhower, who was weighed down by the enormous losses that were being suffered at the Battle of the Bulge. Slovik was the first Army execution since the Civil War. There had been none since. On the 1st of February, 1861, by a vote of 166-8 at the state convention and over the objection of Governor Sam Houston, Texas became the 7th state to secede from the Union. Sam Houston predicted, quote, ignoble defeat for the South. Refusing to swear allegiance to the Confederacy, Houston was replaced as governor by Lieutenant Governor Edward Clark. And finally, on the 2nd of February, 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, ending the Mexican-American War and resulting in the acquisition of by the United States of Western territory that comprises much of what is now California, Arizona, and New Mexico. And we might retrade that deal now. As to birthdays in the coming week, tomorrow, Alan Alda, Hawkeye Pierce from MASH, turns 86 on Friday. Oprah Winfrey turns 68 on Saturday. Any Blue Bloods fans, the TV show, any Blue Bloods fans? Tom Selleck turns 77 on Saturday. Phil Collins of Genesis, the rock and roll group, turns 71 on Sunday. And pitching great Nolan Ryan turns 75 on Monday, and that's this week in history.
Thank you very much, Paul. Very well done as always. Okay. Now I would like to bring up our foundation president, Dr. D.M. Edwards, for a special presentation.
Thank you, President Bill. It's always a delight when our Tyler Rotary Foundation can help not only this part of Texas, but around the world. Those of you that were here at the meeting last Thursday recall that we were able to present a $5,000 check to be used at the maternity hospital in Guatemala that serves 650,000 residents in that part of the country of Guatemala. And the good news last week was our district was attempting to raise $32,000 for the project. They had a little over 27,000, the $5,000 check from our Tyler Rotary Foundation last week from the members of this club put them over the goal. And so that project is moving forward. And today we have the privilege of presenting a large check and the real check both to the Camp B here in Tyler that does such a wonderful job serving veterans here in the East Texas area. Before we present the big check, I want to ask every member of our club that has given to either the project today or last week's project or both, would all of our donors from the club, would you all stand wherever you are and let us recognize you across the room today? Let's give all of our donors a nice round of applause. And then I'd like to ask two of the representatives and others that would like to come up from Camp B. We have Travis Gladhill and Vicki Patshole. If you all would come up and take just a moment and introduce everyone that's with you from Camp B.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having us here today. It is a great honor to be here. We've heard about this donation for a long time. As a matter of fact, you know, he keeps reminding me that this donation is coming. So with me today, I have our chair of the Women's Committee, Vicki Patzel. She wears several other hats there at Camp B. To include, she actually works with one of our service providers, veteran caregivers. There in the back taking pictures is Mark Shaw. He actually started out as one of the clients of Camp B and has basically worked his way up through facility manager and is now an interim community engagement manager with us. And so we're really hoping that he's going to stick around with Camp B. We also have our board chair, Miss Susan Campbell, which I'm sure all of you know. We'll give her a round of applause. And then sitting next to her is another board member, Jennifer Henry. Give her a round of applause, please. And so I think that's everybody that came. So.
At this time, we'll present the big check. I'd like to ask our Rotary Club President, Bill Pascal, to come up and assist in the presentation here.
Good catch. Good catch.
Good catch.
Well, we pay him the big bucks.
We'll give her over here in front and present the check to Camp B. Let's give all of them a nice round of applause.
And as a side note, I'm off to buy the appliances this afternoon.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Money in, money out. That's how it goes.
And then here is the real check to process.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Can we point some? This goes to the Women's Center.
Like I said, though,
Okay.
it's already spent. Like I said, she's like my second wife. It's like, it's done. Got it.
Thank you all for being here.
DM, explain what we're purchasing and doing,
Tell a little bit about how it's being used.
please.
All right, so I started talking to David about 9 months ago. So basically, what those funds will be going to is putting appliances into the Women's Center, stove, microwave, washer, dryer, as well as cooking ware and bowls and all of the lovely fun things that we need to stock the kitchen. So we can start moving forward with our cooking classes and stuff like that we plan to be presenting at the Women's Center as a part of all of this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sweet, sweet.
And if you haven't been to their campus on Front Street, Highway 31 in Tyler, it's right next to the Boshiers. campus, a beautiful, large, multi-acre facility for veterans. I'm sure you'd love to have the club members come out and make a tour.
Hey, we're there, so come see us and we'll.
Let's give Camp V another round of applause.
Good job, good job.
Okay, thank you, DM. Thank you, Camp V. And thanks to all of the veterans that have served our country.
Amen.
Okay, we need your December Rotary visit. We'll run through this pretty quick because we got a lot to do today. Need your December hours, email them to Holly. Let me see here. The Rotary International Convention is coming up in June. Sign up today at rotary.org. Who's going to the convention? If you're going, stand up. Just
Also, we're gonna inaugurate the first woman president of Rotary at the convention.
Yeah, we're gonna inaugurate the first woman. First, we're gonna talk about the Women's Center, then we can talk about the first woman president. But yeah, look forward to that. But guys, seriously, let's see what we can do to get a bunch of us going down there so we can make a splash. Okay, and next week, our program will be Kyle Penny from the East Texas Communities Foundation. And normally this is the time when I would call up our president-elect, Allison Cameron. But Allison's next door at a Boy Scout function. So I'm going to introduce our speaker today. And we've got a policy that we do not let political candidates come in during election year to advance their campaign or advance a political party, any of that stuff. But our state representative, Matt Schaefer, is here with us today. Matt has got a wife who is in charge of the Apache Bells. Is that right, Matt? And he is our state representative. He's here to talk to us about what went on in the last legislative session. And he's also promised me that he plans to leave some time to where we can answer some questions. So guys, please welcome your state representative of mine, Matt Schaefer.
Can y'all hear me in the back if I don't use the microphone?
You use the mic.
Oh, man, did you see what he just did? I will take over. I will. Well, it is a privilege to be here with you today. My name is Matt Schaefer, and I represent this area down in the Texas House of Representatives. And I spent most of last year down in Austin from January, with a little break for a few weeks, and then all the way up into October in multiple special sessions down in Austin. And let me tell you, it is good to be back in Texas.
The real
I mean that sincerely. It was, Austin is not Tyler, and Tyler is not Austin. But it is truly a privilege to serve you. Tyler is a special place. And, you know, I'm going to talk about a lot of things today. I'm going to have some good things to talk about, but some things that are problems too, because the legislature is very, in a lot of ways, reactive. We're having to things that we have to talk about because we live in the real world, and you elect us to go down there and address those issues. So I want to talk about a couple of really positive things first. Tyler, and UT Tyler, is getting a medical school. This is a very big development for our community. For us as people, this is a big deal. And what we had to do in Austin was simply make sure that the funding will be there for the ongoing operation of the medical school. But this community is paying for the construction of that fabulous facility. Do you know how much money I had to ask my colleagues for? $0. I said, all we want is once it's up and running, you give us the same level of funding that all the other schools get. But to get this thing up and going, our community's got it covered. This is really going to be remarkable when you look at all the students that come in. One way to get a doctor to stay here with his or her family is to come to school here and kind of get involved in the community and see what a wonderful place this is to live and to raise a family, and they want to stay. And we need good doctors, and we need, all the investment and innovation and learning that comes from a medical school that benefits all of us in the end. So that's a very positive development. I want to talk about something that I have been working on for 4 years. My able chief of staff here, Sarah Hartsfield. Sarah Hartsfield, will you stand up real quick? If you think I get all this stuff done by myself, I don't. Sarah Hartsfield is my general counsel. She's an attorney and all around whip cracker on me, and she does a great job. But when I first ran for office, I spent some time talking to our public schools, and I spent some time at Chapel Hill, and it really started me down a path of understanding how vocational training in our public schools had diminished. Now, when some of you were older, vocational training used to be more of a thing, but now we've got some people have this idea that, and I don't buy that. I think college is one way to be successful, and certainly is the best opportunity for some students, but it is not the only way to be successful. And we've got to have a different message for young people. So I've been working a lot over the years on vocational training and restoring that in our public schools. One area that we stumbled on was plumbing. Do you know any public schools that teach plumbing? Nobody can raise your hand because you don't. Now, why does that make any sense? Do plumbers make good money? And is plumbing always easy? Let me tell you, maybe changing a faucet, fixing a leaky toilet, you can handle that. Let me tell you, there's a lot that goes into plumbing, especially when you're doing construction and big remodels. You got to understand some things about physics and math and some of those things. It's a very skilled trade, but we don't have it. And why not? And so I went to work, and 2 sessions ago, so 4 years ago, we tried to make a run at saying, okay, why can't a high school student start a training program and get a license to be a tradesman plumber while you're in high school? This makes sense, right? This is not Republican or Democrat. Well, ran into a lot of opposition. Unions in our big urban areas are going to force everybody to come through their programs. But here's the problem, folks. The average age of a plumber is something like 55 years old. And if anybody realized after the winter storm and other things, we have a problem with people not going into the trade. So we went back to work and we took another one at it. And I am very pleased that for the first time in Texas history, we now will have programs where students can go into high school, and by the time they graduate, they can take the same courses, same tests as everybody else. They can walk out with a tradesman plumbing license. And that is, we've got schools from all over the state that are interested in it. Tyler ISD is helping me a lot on this. They are starting this year. Tyler ISD is starting this year, bringing students into this program. I visited with a lot of plumbers. I had a room about like this full of plumbers. And let me tell you, you think politicians have opinions and can go at it. Plumbers can go at it in a room. And they have a lot of different opinions on what should or shouldn't be done with the laws. But they all agree we have to get more young people opportunities. And that is going to continue to be my focus. I think we need to look at electrical and HVAC and all the other trades that if you do not, I don't want you to just get a certificate. I want you to have whatever license it is that means you go to work, you make money, you have an opportunity. And maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to pick up some skills in high school. And then the rest of your life, you know how to go do something. You don't have to call a plumber every time. You can do some things. You can have value for the rest of your life. That is important. And I'm more excited about this than anything I've ever done. I grew up poor. I grew up turning a wrench. I worked every manual labor job you can imagine. And I did go to college. But let me tell you, I'm thankful today for the things that I learned how to do just sometimes by, blunt force trauma, turning a wrench and dang it, and bloody in my knuckles. But man, those lessons are so important for our young men. And there are some women that are in plumbing too. It's mostly men, but there are some women that do get involved, and we're very proud of that. Okay, I want to run, we got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to run through some of this stuff pretty quickly so that we can save about 10 or 15 minutes for questions, okay? Let me talk to you about what's going on with the border. We track in my office, we get reports weekly from the Department of Public Safety, and I keep my own numbers based on what they do. We run our own spreadsheet. So I'm getting my numbers from the Department of Public Safety, who's gathered it from official sources. Last year, in 2021, the number of illegal alien either detentions or encounters that they had on the Texas border sector, y'all are all sitting down, 1,259,538 illegal aliens. Overall, the whole United States border sector, it was over 2 million that came across last year. That represents what would be the 5th largest city in the United States. 2 million people is more than 14 states, okay? These numbers are staggering. Last year were from Honduras, Salvador, and Guatemala. Okay, these are Central Americans. I was on the Homeland Security and Public Safety Committee and on the Appropriations Committee, and we had 5 border sheriffs come in, and they're not Republicans. They're all Democrats, and they came in. They testified in front of our committee, begging for help in their communities. And the things that they said to us were intentional to make us understand the gravity of what the people down there are dealing with. The one sheriff told me that his wife is afraid to be outside on their home out in the county when he's not there. They have asked if they have permission to shoot people. Of course you shouldn't do that. But do you understand the level of anxiety that these communities are feeling down there? They come through, they will rattle your doors at night, they'll test to see if they can get in. Maybe they just want to steal and keep moving, but there's a lot going on. There are murders, there's all sorts of things. It's the drugs, it's the human trafficking, and then it's just the sheer number of people that are coming across that have been assisted by non-governmental organizations. I will tell you the way the Biden administration is doing this is essentially the Department of Homeland Security contracts with nonprofits to assist these people. Catholic Charities is one of the biggest. Catholic Charities will go into Mexico and South America and Central America and actually advertise on how to help you get here. And they come across in mass many times and just say, here we are, and wait to be processed. And then Department of Homeland Security takes them, they take them to small airports like in McAllen, or they put them on buses, and they disperse them throughout the country. Okay, they're giving them assistance and dispersing them throughout the country. Many of them are given what's called a notice to appear in court. That's all they get. A piece of paper says notice to appear in court. The vast majority never show up. They're gone. Okay, they're in the communities, whether they're in our schools, they're looking for work, requiring services, they're here. And the numbers have just gone through the roof, and they continue to go through the roof. The fentanyl, law enforcement folks in here, the fentanyl is a drug that's been around for a while, but the Mexican cartels have basically industrialized the production of this stuff. Some of the precursors, the ingredients that make fentanyl are being imported from China. And fentanyl stuff that, if officers get too much contact with it, they can die. This is killing people all over the country because fentanyl is being incorporated into a pill that someone thinks is some cocaine or thinks it's some other drug that's safe, and it's got too much fentanyl in it, and they take it, and it's not, and they die. They overdose. And that's why you're seeing so much an increase in people who are dying. Young people who are dying, it's from the massive amount of fentanyl. So what are we doing? We've got about 10,000 guardsmen down there. We have put some funds into the wall in some places where we can. We have started in very limited locales to arrest them for criminal trespass. Okay, that means we actually have private property where people have some fencing or whatever, and they're just tired of the massive numbers of people. And the property owners are actually saying, I am willing now to press charges in court. Do you understand that is a scary thing for that person to do? They don't know what cartel members might be involved. And so for landowners to get to the point where it's so bad that they are now willing to press charges, in the past this hasn't really been done. We're doing some criminal trespass charges based on state law. But that's a very small number, maybe about 10,000 last year. So what I'm telling you is, despite us spending we tripled border funding. I mean, it's maybe $1 billion more. We're spending a ton of your taxpayer money, and we're doing some good things, particularly with human trafficking and the drug smuggling. But as far as stopping the large numbers of people from coming across, or deterring them or deporting them, that's not happening. That's not happening. So we're spending a lot of money. We got a lot of guardsmen down there, got a lot of DPS troopers down there, and we're having a very limited impact. My personal opinion is at some point we're going to have to stretch our constitutional framework on that and test that and look at new ways. I do not believe that the founding fathers put in place a legal framework that says we're going to give the federal government a proper legal role with the responsibility to secure the border. Okay, I think we all agree that is legally supposed to be the federal government's responsibility. But that if Washington intentionally, and I say that word carefully, but I'm telling you, Washington has intentionally abdicated that role, has abandoned that role. I do not believe the founding fathers left without us any recourse as a state. And I can have some conversations with you offline about that, but I think we're going to have to, at some point, have a different mindset as a people if Washington is going to continue down that course. I was asked to mention to you all some issues about the electrical grid, and I'd like to do that. Man, there was a lot that needed to be done. And I will tell you that a lot has been done. We're not finished making the grid more reliable, more secure. We've got a lot more work to do, but a lot has been done. A lot has been done on weatherization, including sending out people to inspect our electrical power plants and some of the compressor facilities. They're doing a lot to improve the ability for these plants to withstand a 100-year storm. Okay, it was something like 1885, maybe, since Brownsville, Texas, had snow on the ground or something. I mean, to have this kind of event is truly a 100-year event, but it could happen again, obviously, and we don't want that to happen. The board of the Public Utility Commission, gone. The board of the ERCOT Commission, ERCOT, gone. They were replaced, and we changed the law so that we saw some of these people, they had some expertise, but they were industry folks, and a few of them, lived out of state. So we changed rules that you can't have these conflicts of interest. You can't, work for the power company, and then you're on ERCOT, and you're actually having to make decisions that might hurt the bottom line of the guy who's writing the paycheck. Okay, and so we addressed the conflict of issues. Obviously, being a Texas resident, those are some very important things. What is ERCOT? ERCOT is electrical reliability, entity. Think of them as air traffic controllers at an airport. The air traffic controllers, they do not own the planes. They don't hire the pilots. Okay, ERCOT doesn't own the power generators, and they don't manage the plants. They don't own the wires. And so ERCOT is charged with helping us with reliability. One of the issues that we've really got to deal with is the fact that some of our electrical sources are not as reliable as others. And what I mean by reliability, well, if you go to West Texas, you see a bunch of solar panels. Solar panels are great when the sun is shining, okay? In the wintertime, when do you crank up your heat? When you go to bed, okay? Now, it's great in the summer because the sun is shining during the day, and when you got your air conditioner cranked up the hottest, usually it works harder during the day. When do wind turbines work? When the wind is blowing, okay? So we have had, because of the subsidies from the federal government, wind and solar have grown, but the traditional thermal generation from coal or natural gas or nuclear have not increased in the last 10 years. So we've got to do a lot to incentivize reliability in our grid, and that is being done. How much time do I have? What time?
You get about 9 minutes.
Okay, so be a good time to stop, take some questions.
I'm leaving that up to you.
Okay, I'll take questions whenever y'all are ready, but I will tell you, you can have more confidence in what the grid is going to do because of the work that's been done. And I think we recognize some things that need to be addressed, and I feel like we are definitely moving in the right direction on that issue. The election integrity bill was a big issue. But the main thing we did was, when you look at when fraud pops up in an election, wherever it is, invariably it has to do with mail-in ballots. That's what happened over in Longview, and the people that were indicted over there and pled guilty. These things happen, okay? And so what we did was, one of the biggest things we did was put a voter ID requirement into the mail-in ballot process, okay? I think voter ID is something most people agree on. You have to voter ID at the polls. You can have voter ID when you request your mail-in ballot. So with that, I'm going to stop and take questions.
I got a question.
Oh, this beat you to.
Okay, dealing with the electrical reliability, I remember there were two issues. One was the natural gas facilities froze up and they weren't able to deliver natural gas to the power plant. And then the second thing was power plants had issues also in addition to not having natural gas. Now, as I understand, the natural gas is regulated by different electrical than the power plant. So what has been done or being done to ensure that natural gas facilities can deliver the gas in sub-zero temperature?
Yeah, so the Railroad Commission governs the natural gas industry, and they have done a lot to improve weatherization there. One of the big things too was making sure that every natural gas facility that was important has actually registered with the power company, with ERCOT and the utilities, to say, don't turn us off. If you have to decrease load in an event, don't turn us off. We're a critical facility. The mapping and the list of all those facilities was not accurate. So one of the reasons some of them couldn't deliver gas was because they had their electricity turned off. So we got to make sure that the list is accurate. So there, to that end, a lot of that has been done, and there are actual inspections being taken place for weatherization at the actual power generation facilities. Yes.
You're telling us that we're going to, or you're hoping to re-legitimize trades in school as a legitimate career path, which has been, that we've told every kid, you don't want to aspire to trade, you want to go to college and get a college degree. And problems are obvious as a result of that. But there are problems that are, that's the tip of the iceberg in public education in Texas. The schools are much more profoundly in trouble than just the fact that we don't teach woodshop anymore. What are we doing about basic literacy, math, competency of a high school graduate?
Well, I will tell you that we have put a tremendous amount of financial resources from the state into our public schools. Our public schools are very well funded right now. And I would defer you to your local school district. Go ask a school board member. I'm going to meddle a little bit. Go to any school board member and ask them, what was the record of your football team last year? Did they win district or did they make the playoffs? They will know the answer. Then ask them, what was the percentage of your third graders that can read? And the number is available from the state. Ask your school board member, and that is one of the most important metrics. Can you read at third grade? Go ask the school board member. How many of your third graders can read on level? And usually the school board member doesn't know. They would have to ask the superintendent. And so that comes back to us. We elect them.
I said, first of all, you're a veteran.
Yes.
And we thank you for that. And I appreciate it. And my question is, top 3 things you would do, or what starts the process if you had a magic wand to stop the border crossings? What are the first 3 things that have to be done that we can't do?
We have to get to the point to where the state of Texas can use our resources to actually deter and to turn people back. And I think I would find I would make an example. I would do it in the open. I would do it professionally, using humane means, every kind of proper method. But I would begin to actually use state law enforcement, state guard resources to actually deter people from crossing the river. And if they did, find a way to return them. And I would make a test case out of that, and see what would happen. Because what's going on now simply doesn't work. Yes, sir.
I have a question about election integrity.
Yes, sir.
I know the state has done some good things in terms of that. What are we doing in regard to voting machines, and how does the national implication of that affect our votes here in Texas?
Well, I think we've improved the ability to do audits, and I think that is really the critical thing. So the ability to get a paper audit after an election is there. So I could talk to you more offline, but I think that the voting machine issue is not a simple one. There aren't that many companies that actually do that, so that's something we're going to continue to work on. But I feel good about where we are on our ability to audit an electronic machine to ensure things are being done correctly.
On that vein, it is my understanding that the state of Florida and the state of Georgia are both starting law enforcement agencies specifically to ensure election integrity. Have we thought about maybe doing that here?
Well, our local people are involved, okay? I can go talk to Judge Moran who hires the election administrator. I had a conversation this morning with our election administrator. We have local control here. We have uniform state standards, which in some cases we didn't before. We actually increased the overall number of hours that people can vote. If you listen to some people talk about what we did with that bill, they think that we're trying to keep people from voting. Let me tell you, it should be easy to vote and hard to cheat.
Amen.
And it is easy to vote in the state of Texas if you put out a little effort. Okay, we actually increased the overall number of hours that you got full 2 weeks of early voting. You got 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on election day. You have the mail-in ballot process if you qualify for that. So we do have good ways for people to vote. But I like having local control over that.
Okay. One last question.
This lady back here.
We're out of time.
So my mother came to this country from South America through Ellis Island as a war girl. So I'm very much, obviously, in favor of legal immigration. I would just like to suggest to you, Maria Bartiromo from Fox Business News is going to the border tomorrow and will be broadcasting, and she's talking to Border Patrol agents and supervisors. So if you have some interest in seeing that, your own eyes can tell you. They're showing pictures of the busloads. This morning they had something where there was a whole plane load of illegal.
55 were released into Mission, Texas.
Who went to Westchester, New York. And So this is happening all over the country. Should you not believe that it's really happening, and that there are people who are against giving them a place to come? I'm in favor of giving people a place to come. So I applaud Texas's efforts to try to stop and use state integrity to support proper enforcement of the law.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for that. It is a privilege to serve you. These are challenging times that we are dealing with COVID, the border, a lot of different things that have been going on. But I will tell you this, God is still on his throne. And my faith is in him. And I spend time in prayer and studying his word, because if I don't, I got nothing else. And I'm going to stick around afterwards and would love to visit with any of you. And if you have any really hard questions, you can talk to Sarah, my chief of staff.
We've got this for you, for all of our speakers. So what we're going to do is we're going to donate a book in your name to the Literacy Council. And I want you to know that while you're in town, if a Thursday ever rolls around and you need a place to come have lunch, just have a nice break, something like that, you're welcome here anytime.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you, Matt. Very informative. And now it's time for our Ace of Diamonds Award. JB, how much do we have in the pot this week, sir?
Christopher Columbus, $1,492.
Okay. Half the drawing is for the club, half the amount benefits the Tyler Rotary Club winner. And the guest gets half, or 25%, and their Rotarian host gets 25%. Matt's drawing the number.
840.
840. Who has that? All right, Tom. Can he do it? I sure am glad he asked you to validate that. And not me.
I need to check his license.
Yeah.
3 states, that's a, no?
Okay, guys, well, let me ask you right now to stand for the 4-way test of the things that we think, say, or do as Rotarians. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Have a good week, everybody. We're dismissed.
All right.